I'm Humphrey Go-Kart, and I'm a private eye. I've got a story to tell you, but keep in mind it gets a little racy. Last year, during the month of May, my phone rang and I went to answer it. I picked up the receiver. It was my friend, John, cocky as ever. He was a weightlifter. He worked out in the room next to me at the gym. You might say we were gym neighbors. He wanted me to track down a girl. Her name was Lola Cosworth. She had a track record 2.5 miles long. She was last seen stealing a race car at the Daytona 500. It was car number 43. Police called it Grand Theft Auto. I called it petty theft. Anyway, she was reportedly back home again in Indiana. I decided to take the case. I knew she used to live in a big house up on Graham Hill, so I went there to check it out. I brought along some buddies of mine, Rick, Ray, Tom, and Lloyd from the police department. We decided to check the bedroom first. It was obvious she was kinda kinky. I said, "Look, Rick, mirrors on the ceiling." She was sloppy too. I said, "Look, Ray, her room is a mess." She was obviously in show business. There were pictures on the wall of her performing on stage. I said, "Look, Tom, Carnegie Hall." She had the audience in De Palma, her hand. She wore a lot of jewelry, including a ring I couldn't identify. I said, "What kind of gem is that, Lloyd? Ruby?" Over the next few days, I found out a lot. This dame was no rookie. She had quite the checkered past. She was rumored to have had several venereal diseases, syphilis, gonorrhea, and herpes. When it came to sex, she was always willing, able, and ready. She had a boyfriend once, till he caught her lapping the upstairs maid. It was then he realized she was a lying dyke. I was told I might find her at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I decided to go there straight away. I thought it best to wear a disguise, so I put on a poncho and a turban. When I arrived, I took a seat in the grandstand. I sat down next to two guys named Wilbur and Maury. Suddenly, Maury rose from his seat. When Wilbur saw him, he got up too. I followed them to the infield and ran into my assistant, James. I said, "Do your stuff, James. Garner me some clues." Suddenly, it hit me. I felt like I was gonna pass out. I must have eaten some bad Willie T. ribs for lunch. My stomach began bothering me. Without warning, I let an enormous foit. The lady walking behind me had a conniption Fittipaldi and began to sneeva. I said "Gesundheit" as I watched them wheel her out on a gurney. I took a little Alka-Seltzer and kept moving. I decided to go in the tower and visit my old friend Paul, who was the PA announcer at the track. I thought I'd play a trick on him. I said, "Hey, Paul, page my friend Richard Smoker." When he realized what I'd done, he said, "Hey, you sack of shit." I asked him if he knew Lola Cosworth. To my surprise, I found out they'd been dating. I asked him if he'd had her. He said, "Yes, I often house her." Just then, I encountered two old acquaintances, George and Steve. As we were chatting, Lola suddenly came into view. When it came to looks, she certainly qualified as one of the all-time great beauties. I said, "Look at that chassis, Steve. Doesn't she look Tony, George?" We watched as she went over to Roger Penske, but from what I heard, she was rogering everyone. I figured this was as good a time as any to make my move. I called Ray over and had him make the arrest. He was assisted by a former Swedish tennis star turned infield security guard by the name of Bjorn. I said, "Ray, haul her in, and Borg, warn her of her rights." She was then handcuffed by Paul, new man on the force. Last I heard, she's doing time in the state pen, Zoil. Well, that's my story. I've since retired from the detective business, and I've put together a little jazz band with my friends Steve and Eddie. I play piano, Steve on drums, and Eddie sax. Well, so long for now, and here's looking at you, Skid.